Pokemon Legends ZA has very satisfying catching mechanics. The game rewards smart and stealthy gameplay with things like backstrikes and bulk capturing, which when combined can be done and repeated in mere seconds. So what if I didn't do any of that? Even with such a focus on hurling softballs at wild animals, Legends ZA still offers a good handful of Pokemon directly to the player. Gift Pokemon are typically a cut above the rest because they're so special that they often can't even be found in the wild. But ZA's real-time battle mechanics are enough to make any Pokemon feel overwhelmed, even these superstars. My name is Francois de Bourbon, and I'm doing a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Legends ZA using only the Pokemon who are gifted to me. I could have ran a typical challenge catching wild Pokemon, but why should I? Even within my first few steps into the city, the locals are basically dying to hand me their Pokemon. They must know who I am.
Are you a tourist?
Tragically, I don't have access to every single gift in this run. There are some choices I'll have to make along the way with long-lasting effects. The first, of course, is the starter, and while Tepig is cool and Chikorita is the best pick for a Nuzlocke, I think Totodile would look really cute in a little suit. Yes, Alfred doesn't have the fire typing or any form of recovery, but this is a Totodile run. That means we're going to be 1v3ing Zach's team in the very first promotional match, but thanks to Mabel and her research rewards, which I have to catch Pokemon to level up, but they're not used in battle, so we're going to ignore that, Alfred has a few more tools to help him pull this off. Actually, not quite as much as I was hoping, because I could have sworn that Totodile learned Shadow Claw. They apparently do not in this game, so I'm sending Alfred out to battle with a very suboptimal moveset for fighting Slowpoke. It wouldn't be so bad if their growl wasn't so potent, but this is a slugfest in its purest form. I'm also still regaining my footing with the move timings, so although Alfred has Protect to block the entirety of any move, that doesn't happen and we take every single attack head on. Whirlpool is doing its best to chip away at Slowpoke as well, but no matter which way you bop it, our Oranberry is used up extra early, which is not great because I was hoping Alfred would have way more health for Les Eternel's other two Pokemon. Luckily, neither of which are particularly bulky, and the Pidgey specifically got frozen by our Ice Fang. We take a second to breathe before getting the second knockout in order to charge up Protect again, because more than anything, I want that move ready for Pikachu's Thundershock. Unfortunately, it appears that Zach saw that coming, so he lampshades me by waiting and then using Thunder Wave. Well, at least I got the timing right. We've still got Whirlpool, which chips away at Pikachu way more than Slowpoke, and once Alfred tanks this Thundershock, Pikachu becomes overwhelmed by our attacks, and we reach rank Y. That was a very sloppy performance, and I fully expected to lose at a certain point, but Alfred is still learning, so I can't blame him. I certainly can't blame myself. I'm basically just a spectator. Either way, it's a new day now, and I'm gonna need another gift. The mystery gift is a particular one, as its existence and variety depends on the time of year. And at the moment of the challenge, Japan, Taiwan, and Singapore have Poke Centers that give you an Audino for your birthday. As they say, it's my birthday somewhere. So welcome in, Mr. Carson, who I can't officially nickname. He's also not very responsive, and it's starting to scare me, but yay! I was kind of hoping to take my new Pokemon and get straight to the next promotional match, but because we've been hired by some detective, I need to go around the city and complete a handful of quests. Requests? But for the first time? I was kind of under the impression that everyone here just likes to give, but now I'm learning that's just how they reeled me in to get something out of me. I hate France! Sure, there are some rewards, or like wards, but for the first time. However, none of them are resulting in any free Pokemon. Or salting for the first time? Oh, wait, that's not true. I found the sickly Fennekin in the Magenta sector, and after helping cure her, she decided to join me. Well, I didn't throw a Pokeball, so I'm more than willing to let Mrs. Doubtfire join the team. Also, while I was at it, I spent a couple hours getting as many colorful screws as possible to get as many Canary plushes as possible. Without gliding, of the 100 screws in the city, I was able to get 64. You only need 80 to max everything out, so I was able to max out every Canary plush that mattered. Again, I kind of hate having to do all this work. This is a gift-only run for a reason, but at least I'm getting it out of the way. We've got a very solid core team now, both a physical and special attacker, as well as a tank. Unsurprisingly, Yvonne was a very little threat to us, as Alfred spearheads the fight, Mr. Carson outlasts the Swirlix, and Mrs. Doubtfire finalizes our win. I really could have gone without the random dynamic rain weakening our fire-type attacks, but you should never doubt Mrs. Doubtfire. That's my new catchphrase. Though I would like to point out that we have some horrendous natures, and I will be changing those as soon as I can. Future cousin checking in? I never changed them. Shortly after that, both Alfred and Doubtfire gain a burst of energy and evolve. I decided it would be nice to test out our newfound power with some community service in the city. I mean, the community will serve me by allowing us to see how strong we really are. One of our quests brings us to a violent chestpin who keeps wanting to attack this taxi. Amen, sister, down with the system. But unfortunately for you, I am the system today. Doubtfire effortlessly defeats this wild monster, but it gains the energy to fight once again. Twice! Eventually the idea is proposed that this chestpin joins me since she loves battling so much. And you know what? Sounds like a gift to me. I'm also challenged by a Froakie to compete these obstacle courses with a better time than him. Hey pal, don't you know who I am? The 2.5 hours it took me to get those screws could have been way longer.
10 minutes later.
I bet you feel so stupid right now. Oh, yo? You want to join the team and learn my ways? Well, I don't know if I've got any room, but I'll see what I could do. Oh nah, he's still laughing at me. Alice the Chestpin and Lurch the Froakie fit in pretty nicely overall, and they too managed to immediately evolve. Their timing is perfect actually, because I'm gonna need the larger numbers to safely deal with Zabi. As predicted, his Venipede and Roselia are no big issues with Mrs. Doubtfire on the field. Even with moves like Rollout, I was more worried about what was to come. And the first of which is Kadabra. Not wanting to get sniped by Shadow Ball, I leave it to Mr. Carson. Even with his bulk, he takes more damage than I had hoped, but with access to Body Slam, he could still end it fairly quickly. The scariest of Zabi's team is his ace. Furfuro is shockingly bulky for this stage of the game, but two could play at that game as I send out Alice. Furfuro has problematic moves such as Fire Fang to threaten us, and things get exceedingly touchy for Alice. But she joined the team for the love of battling, so she's gonna battle. The Citrus Berry and Giga Drain keep her healthy, and she comes out on top to promote us to the next rank. Hey, how's it going? These videos take a lot to make, and I'm kind of a one-man show at the moment, so if you're liking the video, then it would mean a lot if you left a like and a hype if you're on mobile. Seeing the numbers go up not only activates my neurons, but they also tell YouTube that this video isn't booty. I mean, if it is booty, then forget all this, but thanks, bye! While solving problems across the city, not because I'm having fun, but because I get something out of it, for the record, I end up at the Lumiose Museum. In here, this couple has lost all 12 of their Spupa, and honestly that's pretty troubling considering Spupa's speed stat. How did you let that happen? But upon my search for them, I got to experience a part of the city I wouldn't have otherwise, and some of the exhibits were pretty neat. The Spupa were cooler though. I found them all, of course, and returned to the couple. This is where we realized that one of the Spupa must have done mitosis, because now there's 13. This Spupa joins my party, and I'm actually so psyched because this quest has endeared me to the Pokemon so much. Sadly, Jarvis won't be this cute for long because he evolves into Vivillon right away. If anything happens to him, there will be problems. Then at a nearby Poke Center, I get a call from Mabel to come to the research lab. This is where my other important choice will be made. You see, just like in X and Y, I'm getting the option to choose between all 3 Kanto starters. Thing is, I don't know who exactly we'll need later on because as of now, the team's alright. We also need to consider that this is the same location where we can revive the fossils who might end up being better picks. Sure, in my gift run of Shield, I acquired all of the Diglett gifts and they were from the same location. But I felt like the identity of the gift encounters in that game revolved around those guys so much that it benefited the theme of the challenge to get them all. This game doesn't share that same quality to me, so we're just gonna leave and come back later to... What? I can't escape. This evil woman is holding me hostage simply because I decided I wanted B-roll. And now I'm forced to commit to her sick game and choose a Kanto starter now. I really didn't want to make this choice yet, but I have already thought about it a little. I literally just did a fossil run, so I'm not exactly dying to use them again so soon. I mean, Aerodactyl would be a strong pick, but speedy, frail Pokemon aren't as good in a game like ZA anyways. Also, just putting this out there is no reason for me to pick Squirtle. I'm sorry. Yeah, I've kind of already got 2 water types, and without the Mega Launcher ability, Mega Blastoise is just kind of okay. My dilemma is choosing between Bulbasaur and Charmander. Venusaur is bulky, has consistent recovery, and is a poison type. That's really good. Charizard, on the other hand, has coverage that eclipses Venusaur's and has 2 Mega Evolutions that we can immediately buy, while Venusaur's 1 is only obtainable in the late game. But even still, Venusaur is consistent. After a long time pondering, I ultimately went with Charmander. I'm not happy about the circumstance, but he should be more interesting to use. And it's probably good to occasionally get out of my comfort zone with playstyles. Speaking of, Rintaro's match is great practice for using glass cannons like Lurch and Jarvis. While I failed to bait the use of Protect, mostly because I forgot he had that move on his monkeys, Jarvis's plethora of healing gives him an advantage over Simisage. Lurch's water attacks overwhelm the Simisear. What a show-off. and Jarvis returns once again to Giga Drain Simipour. Man, the gifts in Lumiose are so good. As soon as we rank up and leave this wonderful 1-star establishment, we get beckoned by Zygarde of all beings to follow them. Brother, everyone's got a quest for me. I'm led to a building where I get thrown several stories up to get on top of the roof, and here is where I'm lent to Lucario to quell a wild rogue Mega Absol. This is no way to treat Francois de Bourbon. I will not forget this. Sadly, we don't keep this Lucario, but on the bright side, that means there are no stakes. After we defeat the Absol and she calms down, she joins our party, meaning we've already got yet another powerhouse hopping on board. Okay, I know what the text says, but Sari B says otherwise, so she's a gift. Upon the realization that I got a Pokemon capable of Mega Evolution, Taunie decided it was a good idea to test my strength. Girl, have you been paying attention? Before we got to her Mega Manectric, everything was pretty standard. Alfred bodied Pignite pretty comfortably even with only one water-type attack. Mrs. Doubtfire had an even easier time against Bayleaf to no one's surprise, so much so that I considered keeping her in when Manectric came out to Mega Evolve. But instead I played it safe and used Mr. Carson to start. I knew Manectric would be an issue, so whittling them away with a Mon who has both Draining Kiss and Wish seemed like a smarter play. Hey, this is almost as good as the recovery an Ivysaur would have. But Wish takes a long time to use, so after we get a few licks in, I switched to Daphne Moon the Absol to... Oh wait, that's Alfred! Luckily he entered in on a bite, but now they're going for Thunderfang, and he gets out just in time. Once in, Daphne parries Manectric's Spark by Mega Evolving, and Perception Blitzes me by taking out Manectric so quickly I could barely even tell what happened. Almost lost my starter in a very dumb way, and while that may not be the last time that happens, my gifts are so great that we should be fine. Also, barring any loss, this is the team for the foreseeable future. Very little time should be spent expanding the squad, so we'll just be cruising on to the battles from now on. Vinnie is the main event of this chapter, sporting some high damage Pokemon, which does in fact include his Baneri. As a matter of fact, fortunately we're given a great start, as Alfred is about as perfect of a lead you could ask for against Vinnie's Houndoom. We use Aqua Jet to get in close, and even though they trap us in with a Fire Spin as a result, Flip Turn gets us out of there along with the kill. Alfred continues to apply pressure once the Sharpedo comes out, but really this is a fight for Alice. She hasn't even reached her final form yet, but she still insists on mowing down Sharpedo with Bullet Seed. Vinnie's Baneri is unusually tough to break down, but she's still no problem for the likes of Alice. Last is Vinnie's Drampa, primed and ready to Mega Evolve. And even with moves like Icy Wind, oh my! Jarvis has both Dazzling Gleam and Draining Kiss. Those super effective attacks should do wonders, and Icy Wind's recharge time should be long enough for Jarvis to maneuver around it. Except that Drampa's Mega Energy allows him to use it again almost immediately, and he's also able to use Twister to prematurely knock Jarvis out before I can even react. I completely forgot about the power of Mega Evolution, and now I've lost one of my only Pokemon with recovery. Mr. Carson should have been out instead, so now he gets the kill like he was always meant to. Obviously, I should have been way more careful, but I really wanted to use Jarvis before the power creep got too large. Though I suppose it already has. Somehow satisfied with our performance, Vinnie puts us on a quest bigger than all others combined and tasks us with ultimately defeating 15 total rogue Mega Evolutions. This sicko still isn't satisfied? I've already lost one of my very few gifts, and somehow I feel like this quest won't be resulting in any more. If anything, it'll be the opposite. To honor Jarvis, the rest of my Pokemon evolve with the hope that we'd never suffer a loss such as Jarvis's again. They may just be coworkers on paper, but this seems to have affected everyone more than I imagined. Even Lurch. Somehow. As always, I will be including the Rogue Megas as part of the Nuzlocke. I think they're a big part of the game and deserve their flowers, even if this kind of battle plays very differently. My rule for them is that I need to keep a Pokemon out at all times when battling them, which makes dodging certain attacks pretty problematic, especially later. But with this first set of 3, Daphne simply Mega Evolves to deal with the Slowbro, Jeffrey Mega Evolves into his Y form to burn the Victory Bell, and although he got burned, Alfred made Camerupt afraid to show their face in Lumiose ever again. Terragon then blocks our path to Canary, and this guy worried me. But maybe I was simply recuperating with Jarvis's death still fresh on my mind, because I led with Lurch and he was shockingly reliable. Both the Hippowdon and Diggersby loved to set up, and those openings turned out to be plenty enough for us to snag the knockouts on both Pokemon. Okay, Lurch, nice job! I probably could have done that too. That wasn't impressive. And even though Radagon's Excadrill sets up Swords Dance, Alice is way too bulky for them, meaning it's time to fight Canary. I don't have many Pokemon who match well into electric types. For the most part, we're either neutral or disadvantaged here, but Alice eloquently keeps her momentum going and immediately takes out her Helioptile. Next is Ampharos, who is deceptively bulky, so to preserve Alice, I let Daphne handle her. Even her attacks were failing to do as much as I'd hoped, but I couldn't bring out Mrs. Doubtfire since the super effective Power Gem was an option. Luckily, Daphne pulled through, so once the following Stunfisk came out, Alice returned and pulled through as well. Thanks to Charge, Stunfisk ended up doing way more damage to us than I had hoped, but no matter. I would normally have her handle Kanari's Electros, who's a huge threat, but this time Jeffrey utilizes his other Mega Evolution in Mega Charizard X. Now he's become my other Electric Resist and tanks all of their moves, just enough before catching them on the Volt Switch with Flamethrower. With these crazy Pokemon, I'm in the belief that we are in full cruise mode now. And cruising we are. Just like last time, once I got to Mega Evolve my guys and gals, the Rogues didn't stand a chance. Mrs. Doubtfire is first up against Beedrill, and since I allow myself the online Megastones, Beedrill really wishes I didn't. Hawlucha stood almost no chance against Jeffrey, but few Pokemon do. He tried his best to use the full power Flying Press, but Jeffrey just didn't allow it. And against the Bayonet, I could have Mega Evolved Lurch just like Mrs. Doubtfire, but I didn't feel like it. Actually, he worked better charging the Mega Energy for Daphne Moon, who again is so good against other Rogue Megas. She can trivialize a lot of them, actually. But someone must have thrown some Caltrops in front of our cruise or something, because it comes to a screeching halt already. While we're perfectly ready to challenge Ivor, he can't say the same. Every ZA Royale participant needs their phones to verify matches, and since Ivor breaks all of his on accident... Wait, does that mean he's killing countless Rotom? We need to go on a wild goose chase to find his sister, who's allegedly in the sewers. But luckily the roadblocks down here have nothing to do with the sewers themselves. Thankfully. Instead, we've run into a locked gate with no other way around it, while a Klefki scurries by. So let me take this opportunity to convince you why Klefki is a gift encounter. I cannot continue this run without Klefki, just like I couldn't start it without Alfred. I even tried to knock him out, but Klefki is a forced encounter. The same could be argued regarding the mandatory quests of the early game, like when I traded a Pikachu for Bois, but this interaction has way more going for it. Emma gifts me these Ultra Balls for the sole purpose of obtaining Klefki. They're Emma's, not mine. I would argue this is comparable to the whole give a man a fish saying, wherein Emma just gifted me the gift of a lifetime, consolidated entirely within this elusive keyring. And finally, if you still aren't convinced, should I ever take this challenge to Ancient Hisui in Pokemon Legends Arceus, in that game, you are forced to capture even the starter Pokemon, after being gifted some Pokeballs as well. I would still ultimately count those starters as gift Pokemon due to the nature of their acquisition, and Klefki here is no different. The same could be said for the starters in the Let's Go games if you count those as games. This little guy was basically presented to me on a silver platter, so I picked him up on behalf of Emma for the main quest to unlock the gate, and afterwards, she simply left it in my care. Why am I batting so hard for Klefki of all things? Well, that's because he's still a gift Pokemon at the end of the day. Just like Alfred, just like Daphne Moon. Niles was only a little fancier about it. I mean, it's not like he was here to actually unlock the gate, so what else would Klefki be put here for? Well, everyone, the answer to that question is, Klefki was placed here to be my gift. Thank you. Oh, also when we found Gwyn, Lurch just swept her team. No big deal. And then in our promotion match against Ivor, Mrs. Doubtfire pulled off the exact same feat. That was for all those poor Rotoms, you sicko. And then Jeffrey made Felipe entirely trivial. Man, I'm good at this. Before I knew it, we were already at the third batch of Rogue Mega Evolutions, and they're starting to amp up the difficulty. It all starts with Mega Mawile, whose little fairy ball barrage takes a larger chunk off of Mr. Carson than I had imagined, but overall she was no biggie thanks to Mega Jeffrey. Man, what a guy. Mega Barbaracle takes the threat even further beyond, as while fighting it, I was almost taken out by his Kamehameha. Or his Hydro Pump, it's hard to tell the difference. The only reason I survived that was because I maxed out Kanari plushes. And even after she broke its charge, Alice ends up eating a close combat head-on and suffers some major injuries. She makes it out and gets the win eventually, but these calls are way too close. And finally we've got Mega Ampharos, a mon who has the capacity to be very annoying. But in its Mega form, it gains the Dragon type, so I can finally unleash the monster that we've all been waiting for, Mega Mr. Carson. He's gained the Renowned Fairy typing to heavily check this rogue Mega, and Dazzling Gleam combined with Draining Kiss makes him nigh unkillable. Mega Ampharos doesn't let up and is happy to use his moves like Discharge and Thunder to push us back. I'm forced to pivot out every now and then to save the Mega Charge, and even when Mr. Carson is back out, Ampharos often just sidesteps out of the way. Don't worry, Mr. Carson, this guy's just on Adderall. There's nothing you can do. Several mostly safe minutes later, and the third rogue of the third bunch finally goes down. As usual, the team and I are immediately ready to rank up in our next promotional match, but it hasn't been initiated yet. I don't know how to initiate it, and right, I'm also in crippling debt as per my friend of less than a week. The Lone Shark who played a huge part in this is using that leverage to force me to do community service around the city. It's kind of like how it's been with Taunie and Emma already, but slightly more persuading. I may be Francois de the Bourbon variety, but it might be better if the banks don't start connecting any dots here. To be fair though, it's hard to call the Rust Syndicate outright malicious considering almost every other citizen in the city wants something out of me. And they all make it happen one way or the other. These guys just wear suits. But I will say I was feeling pretty good about helping people out, oddly enough. Even without getting Pokemon as rewards, I haven't really felt that ripped off lately. But after doing all of these requests back to back, I can feel the desire returning. Way to go, Corbo. Now I'm relapsing and I'm angsty. Will you ever be serving my part of the community? Yeah, I thought not. Oh, well, that works too. However, I need to be careful what I ask for, because not every gift is a gift. Corbo's not only tougher than all of my previous opponents, but he also evokes different strategies, some of which I kind of overlooked. Mrs. Doubtfire is my lead as she's my perfect answer for Arbok. Toxic is very worrisome, but so long as we end this battle quickly, it won't be a problem. She does exactly that, but by using Flamethrower first before Psychic, we take extra damage that we likely wouldn't have if we had just led with Psychic. I knew Gyarados would be coming out next, so I sent out Mr. Carson. I should have played more defensively with him overall, but the Thunder Punch was way too tantalizing. Unfortunately, Bounce and Dragon Rush both give Gyarados the chance to dodge our attacks, and he does exactly that. Before long, I need to get Mr. Carson out of there and panic switch to Alice. But Bounce has already recharged. Jeffrey was the only one who could tag Alice out in time, and ends up taking tons of damage as a result. In a failed attempt to parry, I Mega Evolved Jeffrey into his Y form. This was supposed to be saved for Scolipede, which is why I didn't get rid of the water weakness with his Dragon form, so I desperately need to take this brief breather to reassess and recover footing. Corbo has full control over this battle. While we somewhat parry the waterfall, Alfred still manages to come out just in time without anyone taking damage. Until we do. With Breaking Swipe providing irreplaceable support and weakening the Gyarados, Alfred is able to tank just enough attacks while dealing with a paralysis from Bounce to do just enough damage and knock them out before we get too low. I'm so glad Mr. Carson landed that Thunder Punch earlier. While Mrs. Doubtfire has already retained some damage, she readies her attacks for the Roserade. Type-wise, she's got the perfect matchup, but still needs to deal with their super effective Shadow Ball. Fortunately for me, she's just got it like that, because the attack is brushed off as this ear-hair-riddled rascal proceeds to overwhelm the Roserade. Last up is Corbo's Mega Scolipede, and the team is not prepared to fight this guy. This final match will be tight, but I know we could get out of it if I just get the timing right. Yes, I want Jeffrey to get the kill, but there's a couple things I need to do first. One, I know they always fish for the Protect, so Alice baits it out. She then baits Scolipede's best move at Gunk Shot, which we also protect. Scolipede's other two moves are Earthquake and X-Scissor, and because Jeffrey is immune to the latter and quad resists the former, so long as he switches in and gets the knockout before Gunk Shot recharges, we should be fine. The only problem is that our special attacks take slightly longer to use, but ultimately it doesn't matter because all Jeffrey needed was a single flamethrower to do the job. I got way too complacent and Corbo almost got a few kills on me. But we pulled through, and you know what? I'll say it. I do not regret my choice of picking Charmander at all. Actually, you know what? Forget all that stuff I said acknowledging my panic and other things I did wrong. I know what the real problem was. I forgot to pick up the final gift encounter who would have made all the difference. The ultimate Pokemon resides in Wild Zone 11, and the game changer is none other than Galarian Stunfisk. This particular Stunfisk was specifically looking for a trainer worthy of his power, and he is ending his search here and now. I've made my one and only mistake of not acquiring Igor sooner, so the rest of this game will be a piece of cake. Even foes such as Lita's otherwise indomitable Vanillish and Hemolga, as well as Naveen's Ariados and Sableye stood no chance whatsoever. These mid-game walls would surely have been insurmountable otherwise. Sure, the others helped with weaker mons, but they literally could not have pulled this off without Igor. I promise you that. And things continue to look up for Team Bourbon, because I'm finally recognized by Lumiose's higher class of influential battlers, known primarily as the Society of Battle Connoisseurs. Frankly, it's about time. I finally connected with people of my own stature, and I've got a job to do. Taunie, not now. You're embarrassing me. Oh, I hate France! I was a little worried about this job, particularly thanks to the steady increase in difficulty these fights have been providing, but again, I had nothing to worry about. Disregard that. We opened the Mega Frostlass Rogue battle with Mrs. Doubtfire to then shred her health away with Mega Jeffrey. Inversely, we charged the Mega Meter with Jeffrey against Mega Venusaur to make way for Mrs. Doubtfire to finish him off. This Venusaur must have been the Bulbasaur we left behind at the lab, because this guy was aggressive. Our Mega Energy even ran out before we could get the win. But I never doubted Mrs. Doubtfire. As for the Altaria, I had planned on using Mr. Carson, but Igor the perfect counter was basically already halfway there by the time the Mega Meter charged up. He ended up just staying in and soloing the rogue himself. Sure, when the Altaria flew in the air, it was a little bit harder to hit, but Igor still managed to get a few licks in. And shoot, I don't know if it's because of his sleek, elusive design, but he also dodged almost every Twister, Moonblast, and other. Now, I can only imagine it was because someone sabotaged the roof earlier to make me fall, but we somehow ended up taking a little too long for Gisham. Gisham. Leman, I promise I was gonna return as soon as possible. I'm one of you! Well, either way, I wasn't very convincing, or Laban couldn't hear me over the blood pumping past her eardrums, because she's ready to take me to Hotel Richisime by force. Gulp! The idea for this battle was for Alfred to simply do a clean sweep. That's what I paid him for anyways. Unfortunately, his offensive presence was just shallow enough to prevent that from happening. I thought about letting him Mega Evolve, but the added dragon weakness that would come with that felt way too scary. Ultimately, he's only able to take out Noivern before doing minimal outrage damage to Tyrantrum. Mrs. Doubtfire, while eating an Earthquake head-on, manages to pick up the knockout next. But man, I really thought Alfred would get at least 2 KOs. He at least steps it up again to answer the Garchomp, who always leads with Swords Dance. But I miscall and have him use Aqua Jet first. This mistake might have actually saved Alfred's life though, because that shorter move gave him just enough time to pivot out after Ice Fang. We needed that dodge. Mr. Carson takes it from there. Thank you, Mr. Carson. But with Mega Drag Algae here, and my team so relatively damaged, I know what I must do. Igor steps up and perfectly utilizes Protect to extend his longevity. But in hindsight, I doubt we even needed it. Dragalge is known for its bulk, but in the face of Igor, you'd think he was the Mega Evolution. Between his insane combination of moves, Leban didn't stand a chance. Especially after his plus boosted Earthquake. Alright, well, now I'm finally here and no one else changed their clothes? Dude, am I overdressed? In Jasanth's tournament, I'm able to pretty much replicate my previous successes against the 3 battles. Except this time, I'm a little more refined. Specifically, while fighting Corbo, I didn't fumble the entire fight. Though his Garrett did break Mr. Carson's ankles with Bounce and Dragon Rush yet again, but Alice has Thunder Punch now and saves the day. Zygarde did interrupt the tournament, and I planned on using Mr. Carson, but he will definitely overlevel if I use him now. My safest bet at a drawn-out fight against him is Daphne Moon's Perish Song, but she's not the bulkiest, so this isn't exactly optimal. I'm not even sure if the move works on Zygarde, because this could be a special occasion, but... oh! It worked! Yay! I'm overall fairly confident in the matchup against Gisham, which just so happened to be our promotional match. I'm exactly in my element here at Hotel Richisime, and I've got a great team, so nothing will stop us from winning. Oh, I meant to lead with Alfred. Carpink is one of the few mons that Alfred has a good matchup for, so once he makes quick work of the pseudo legendary, he tags out to escape the Auroras. That's because this thing has Freeze Dry, which is in fact super effective against water types, and I don't want to risk it. Unbeknownst to me, that would be the least of our worries. While the super effective Rock Blast is easy for Mrs. Doubtfire to dodge, the real problem came with Blizzard freezing us right away. Thank God, viewer's choice, she used Light Screen first, because even though we have to deal with the point-blank rock blasts now, it does its job at keeping her alive. Once she eventually thaws, the Citrus Berry helps maintain her health in the second half of the fight, and that is why you never doubt Mrs. Doubtfire. Jeffrey burns away the Mawile, and Mr. Carson deals heavy blows to Gardevoir while also replenishing our Light Screen. Eventually the Gardevoir outpaces us, and I need to rely on Jeffrey again, but that isn't a problem, and we're very quickly standing face to face against Chassaint's ace, Mega Clefable. But really, do I even need to say it? My own ace is so good that I don't even need to Mega Evolve. Igor protects their one single threatening move and goes band for band with the Moon Man monster. Both the damage and the support from the Mega Evolutions Plus attacks show the bite of the SCP's leader pretty well, and appropriately so. But Igor takes that as a call to remove the kitty gloves and begins using his own plus moves. Once Clefable starts taking the heat, they attempt to replicate it, but it just isn't enough, and this ends up being another clear victory for Igor. The SBC could very well be the perfect place for the likes of Francois de Bourbon, but with that victory, I think it's time we move on. If we stick around too long, it may prevent the team and I from growing and getting stronger. My Pokemon want to reach rank 8 just as much as I do. At first I thought it would essentially be free, but now I know we're gonna earn it no matter what. Ivor is huge, what the? And we're definitely gonna be earning it against the final 3 Rogue Mega Evolutions, because they are not messing around. For some reason that appears to lack all reason, I begin with who I consider to be the toughest one, and I am not warmed up. The idea was to essentially solo the dangerous Dragonite with Lurch's Ice-type attacks. Now that he's Mega Evolved, I felt like he'd be a shoo-in to win, but I ended up having to use everyone else for even a chance to barely escape the battle. Don't get me wrong, I'm pleased with Lurch's damage, but this Dragonite really knew how to counter me, and that involved spamming Hurricane as much as possible. The first time around, it's no big deal, minimal damage is done, but Lurch shreds Dragonite at just the right pace for the next Hurricane to begin right as we hit the second phase. My counter to this is pivoting to reposition, but my timing is off and Alice eats one head on. I would have loved to have Mr. Carson right now, but I decided to leave him in the box because he had gotten dangerously close to the level cap. And as I'm switching to Jeffrey, Dragonite starts playing dirty and charges up Hyper Beam. I've seen this before, but I don't think it was ever this quick after Hurricane. This is really bad because every time I've seen that attack at full power, it's been a one-shot. I try sending Lurch out, but I'm too late. We barely land an Ice Punch just after Dragonite becomes fully charged. We couldn't break it in time. My only plan now is to hopefully pivot Lurch out at the perfect moment to dodge the attack. His Mega Evolution ran out, so it looks like everything's gonna cut real close. But even though it landed, it wasn't enough to take out my taller than average frog after all. He hung on. Daphne Moon is next up, and unfortunately I didn't have the foresight to put a Mega Stone on her. I always go into these battles with the idea that everyone else supports my main Mega Evolution. Worse off than that, Daphne doesn't really have any plus moves to simulate Mega damage. This battle just got way longer, and Daphne does pretty great to be honest, but I need more damage. Alfred does have plus moves, and oh wait, it's going for Hurricane again. Hyper Beam? Oh, this guy's good. This time Alfred enters just in time to land a plus Outrage, and that weakens the ult just enough to be manageable. But he still does some hefty damage. It's around this time that I remembered that Jeffrey also has plus moves. Dragon Rush, Claw, and Breath, Huey, do plenty enough damage, and while the battle remains hectic up until the end, we still make it out. If someone died, my opinion would have been swayed, but man, I love that fight. Pitar is way more manageable in my opinion, especially with the Mega Evolution like Alice, who consistently does stab extremely effective moves. Extremely effective? I don't know, Pokemon Champions is trying to make that a thing, and I thought I'd try it out. It feels wrong, but it definitely flows better than 4 times super effective, I guess. Anyways, Alice does just about as well as I expected her to, making this fight take a fraction of the time it took to beat Dragonite. But I need to back up and stall out Tyranitar's AoE attacks with Alfred. Those attacks will shred me. Tyranitar has a Sandstorm around it, don't get close? Yeah, sounds good to me, but... Oh, okay, wait. Just like Dragonite, this guy has an ult in Giga Impact. I've messed up the interaction a handful of times before, but for some reason he just never uses it this time. Or rather, we never gave him the chance. I did feel it coming, so when the Sand Tomb wore off, Alice went on the offensive again. Giga Drain helped maintain her, which was great because, oh my gosh, look how close it got. And finally, after climbing some scaffolding with Lurch, reminiscing about how we met, and witnessing him slip face first into the neighboring building, we face off against the final rogue Mega Evolution, Starmie. Ending it off on the easiest of the three wasn't my smartest play, but in part thanks to being warmed up from the first two pseudo-legendaries, this fight was no big deal. Usually Starmie's a problem because it runs around and it becomes very hard to hit, but this time Daphne Mega Evolves and just shreds their HP. Well, that wasn't as narratively fulfilling as it would have been if I ended off with Dragonite, but it's deathless, so I'll take it. We're finally so close to reaching rank A, and literally only a couple battles block our way. Neither of which are particularly challenging compared to the actual promotional match, but to be fair, Gisham is just that strong. By the way, just so you know, if you ever wanted to rent out the cafe on top of Lysander Labs, you could totally include the lab in the square footage. Just saying. I'm getting ahead of myself. As for the prerequisites, Emma's battle was actually more of a rock, paper, scissors battle. I just kind of switched in a counter for each of their Pokemon. Really, the only thing of note was that it reminded me that I wished she was in the game more. What we get is nice and all, but she was on the box art after all. And Gracel is usually a bit tougher, but I decided to simplify my time and Mega Evolve out the gate. I'm really glad Alfred got to stretch his dorsal fin this time, because the only other time he was able to was against the rogue Mega Camerupt, I think. I wanted to use him so much more up to this point, but ironically the secondary dragon typing hurt him defensively in so many battles. It's only an issue in Nuzlocke, of course, but this fight did make up for it in my opinion. To be fair, I did need Jeffrey to handle the Metagross, but after that, right back to Alfred to overpower the other Mega Evolution. Let's scar. With that, Gisham allows us to literally get to the bottom of Lysander Labs, and by ignoring every single wild Pokemon and knowing the way, it's a cute little 5-minute adventure. We're told about the history of Team Flare and AZ's part in seemingly every major historical event in Kalos history. Wait, AZ? But none of that really matters to me. My Pokemon and I are simply on a journey to reach the top, and right now, the only person in our way is Gisham. Grisham? I don't know, man. This is our first 6v6, and considering how tough it is, it might be a blessing that there's so few. At the very least, Grisham's Pangoro is very easy to play around, since I know he's chomping at the bit to use Protect. While he has the super effective Crunch to hit Mrs. Doubtfire, that knowledge largely puts her at an advantage and wins her the matchup. We've got experience with Malamar, and switched to Daphne while dodging the Hypnosis. X-Scissor may not be enough, but Shadow Sneak barely picks up the kill while we take practically no damage. Similarly, Alfred gets to show off again versus Pyroar, but he takes considerably more damage without Mega Evolving himself. I intended to keep him out in front of the incoming Tyranitar a little bit longer, but after a Whiffed Protect, we get out of there fairly early. Mistakenly pivoting to Jeffrey makes me slightly more frantic than I already was, but I'm unpunished as Alice safely joins the fight and picks up the kill with an easy Brick Break. But this is where I begin to realize my mistake. I really should not have gotten greedy with Alfred earlier. Salamence is here, and I absolutely needed Alfred to do his thing here with Ice Fang. As it stands, the rest of my team doesn't have the best matchups, but I did prepare for it. Mrs. Doubtfire returns to block the Earthquake and tank a Draco Meteor, but her damage wasn't quite cutting it. Dazzling Gleam may have recharged just in time, but I couldn't risk it and send out Jeffrey to battle for real this time. I was hoping I could save him for a little later, as the pivoting and Mega Evolution parry would have been so good for Grisham's Charizard X. But here we are, and Jeffrey manages to take out the Salamence himself. We've at least got the momentum going. But now he needs to solo the mirror match, because my others are not looking too hot. Fortunately, just like Pangoro, Mega Charizard X also has Protect, which we can play around. But our lower health comes back to bite us because their Dragon Rush already puts us in the red. I didn't quite register that and immediately call out our own Dragon Rush, while they just as quickly use Flare Blitz. But Jeffrey's Dragon Rush helps him dodge the attack perfectly, yet the faux Zard survives. I need to pivot, really to anyone. Jeffrey needs to get safe. But Zard X was ready for anything, and even without stab, they fired off a lethal Air Slash, killing Alice in one final blow, who didn't even know what hit her. I'm at a huge loss here, but the battle isn't over yet. I send out Daphne Moon, but enemy trainers don't really wait for the switches like I do with the little animations. To make up for that, Daphne uses her fastest move, but gets slammed by a Flare Blitz that burns. But she survives, and Shadow sneaks out the win. From the jump, Alice loved the battle. I brought her to as many fights as I could, and every single time she played her heart out. Alice died doing what she loved, and without her, we wouldn't have been able to finally reach rank A. That match was surely worth the promotion, and while Jarvis will be joined by a friend in the great beyond, we did it. However, that isn't quite enough, because lurking in the shadows, analyzing our every move, our every strategy, was another trainer who was quietly climbing the ranks of the ZA Royale, plotting to defeat me and claim the title of the Royale champion when the time was right, was Taunie. Now that Alice has been killed, her alarm was going off. Forget Lumiose, forget the Ange Tower, I'm already in a daze, and Taunie is ready to fully capitalize on that in every way she can, in a battle between the only two rank A trainers. The final 6v6 begins with Taunie sending out Meowstic as I send out Lurch. This frog and I have had our own rivalry in the past, but it's grown into a bond, and I fully believe he'll come through here. Unfortunately, the opposing feline manages to use Reflect first and survives our attack. Lurch may be blocking the following Thunderbolt just in time, but their survival means that both screens get set up. Somehow they were just too fast, but we should be fine. Emboar comes out next, and to my surprise, they set up Bulk Up right away. I was expecting a Thunder Punch first, but even worse than that, when I switch Alfred in, it's somehow just in line with their boosted Flare Blitz. Alfred takes massive damage and only just survives the following Stone Edge that seemed to come out immediately. But with that, he does Mega Evolve, and our Liquidation cleanly one-shots the best firefighting Pokemon in the base game. My trusty starter was meant to do way more, but I'm just glad he's still alive. But he won't be for long if he stays in for the Goodra. And thankfully the screens have worn off, because now Mr. Carson can prove that he's the best tank. Taunie runs the Toxic strat that we sadly can't use, but Mr. Carson was ready because that status was deleted with our Lumberry. Between the healing from Draining Kiss and Wish, and the damage from said Kiss and Ice Punch, Mr. Carson has full control over the fight. I figure the Avalugg is going to be touchy, so Mr. Carson stays in a little longer than I planned to disrupt him. He also set up a Wish for the secondary healing that I'm sure Mrs. Doubtfire would love to... No! The crit on the plus move mattered? Okay, well, suddenly this is very bad. Mrs. Doubtfire was the only fire type on my team, and this isn't even the only matchup where I needed her. I guess Lurch would be fine here. He also tanks a Stone Edge, so apparently this matchup is better for him. Lurch gets his second knockout of the fight as Taunie sends out Manectric. This gal is tough with her intimidating fire electric coverage, but this is yet another place where Igor shines. As long as we stay on the defensive, Igor is free to protect their overheat whenever they use it, and follow that up with our own plus move that takes the kill every single time. Last but not least is Mega Meganium, and let me tell you, I exclusively planned on using Mrs. Doubtfire here. Instead, I've preemptively switched to Mr. Carson, and the plan was to set up Wish. Oh my goodness! That Wish will keep Igor somewhat safe and give him extra opportunities to set up Toxic. I was sure to have that move one way or the other. We just need to stall them out, but their recovery is getting pretty cumbersome. I need to pivot to dodge, and Lurch is the only other healthy one. From there, I'll need to ready the Protect for the Giga Drain, and... Seeing Dazzling Gleam, I froze while gauging whether or not we were in range, and if I should preserve the Protect. Well, now I know what I should have done, at least. By the time Igor returns, the Toxic finally overtakes Mega Meganium, and we've defeated Taunie, proving that we're the strongest team in the ZA Royale. But after losing 3 incredible gifts, I don't know if we can even say that anymore. While we fought, the Ange Tower in the center of the city had grown stronger. But now that I'm declared as the strongest, it's apparently my duty to stop it for one final quest. I'm seriously doubting myself and my motivation, but then I thought back to Mrs. Doubtfire. After I saved her from her lowest point, she made an effort to protect me from ever reaching mine. She was reliable and caring up to the end, and that was a gift. A gift that she'd want me to give to the city as well, so I will. Even though I hate France! Enraged wild Pokemon have Mega Evolved, and I have exactly 1.5 strategies for them. I didn't plan on any deaths, but in the case that there was some, I needed to make sure that Daphne wasn't ever at risk so that she could put every mini-boss on a timer with Perish Song. That's why I didn't bring her to the Taunie fight. The move has a long charge up and leaves Daphne open to big damage, but she pulls through, and afterwards I send out Mr. Carson to tank literally everything thrown his way. The Wild Mega's time starts ticking, and while this overall is pretty reliable, I still ran into some trouble in the other matches. The very next one, for example, got really bad because unbeknownst to me, Perish Song missed all 3 Wild Mega Pokemon, and I had to improvise. I would have liked to send out Daphne again, but she was way too low to risk. I first tried battling these guys the old-fashioned way, but they took like no damage. I have no idea how I ever did this before, because even with Mr. Carson Mega Evolving himself and healing, he was taking some damage. Eventually his super form ran out and I had to improvise some more, but each and every one of my Pokemon were taking just too much damage. Ivor and Gwen eventually finished off Pidgeot, and I managed to get the Kangaskhan alone and used a second Parasong, but then that left the Garchomp. Not many Pokemon in this world are capable of handling this, but I have Igor, who may be the only one who could save us. Toxic and run. The strategy ended up working, but there's more. The Steelix and Blastoise combo were surprisingly aggressive, but this time our Parasong landed on both of them, and they were no biggie. But these first 3 fights went on a little longer than I planned, and Anj is getting stronger by the second. I run as fast as I can to get to the next checkpoint, and in doing so I'm suddenly reminded about all the times Lurch and I parkoured on the scaffolding. Between my practice and our subsequent rivalry, I got good at it, and improved all thanks to Lurch. The next battle was against Mega Salamence and Aggron, and while I am able to hit them both with Parasong again, it's still a challenge surviving until their timer runs out. I can't Mega Mr. Carson because it'll make him weaker to Aggron, but it didn't matter because both Mon focused him down. Alfred also has some form of recovery thanks to the Shell Bell, but even still only just barely survives long enough. I was particularly afraid while planning for the Gardevoir and Gallade duo, but fortunately both Mons saw Corbo's Scolipede as an easier target. In a surprisingly easy fashion, both go down while basically doing no damage to me. And last up is this terrifying scene. Each of these 3 mini rogue megas have an incredible offensive presence, but Daphne is immune to Alakazam, at least? And man, these guys were not messing around. Even Mr. Carson was breaking a sweat. But at the end of the day, it was another clean sweep with, like, no close calls. Trust me, guys. And now we've made it to Anj Floette. Our final request ends here one way or the other, and while it may seem like a completely new challenge, my whole team is fully familiar and ready to do their part. In the first phase, I'm leaving the right flower for Jeffrey and the left one for Daphne. Jeffrey plays it safe and stays behind the rubble for safekeeping to fire off fire spins and heat waves, while entering the open to use moves like Fire Blast here and there. Anj's chip damage isn't nothing, but thankfully we still have Mr. Carson in the back ready to support everyone with Wish. What a good move. Jeffrey makes quick work of the red flower, and Daphne does arguably even better against the blue one. She may have taken some heavy blows, but Swords Dance took her power through the roof. In phase 2, I left it to Igor and Alfred. Igor has plenty of projectiles that let him take advantage of the destruction around him, but more importantly, natural selection has turned him into one of the hardest Pokemon to hit in history. His size is purely an advantage and has the easiest time in this role. Alfred has a fun strategy versus the blue flower. In this phase, they like to use a bunch of strong close range attacks with the occasional AoE snipe. The idea is for us to get close with Liquidation, then pivot with Flip Turn to position himself for Rock Slide and Hydro Pump. This particular flower does catch us a few times, which may or may not be my fault, but with Mr. Carson ready to heal and get a lick in here and there, we had absolutely nothing to worry about. And lastly, in phase 3, I left it all to Jeffrey. From the start, I can't say I was 100% confident in choosing him at the Pokemon Lab. The recovery of Venusaur and damage of Tyrantrum both sounded just as good, but I learned a long time ago that I made the perfect choice. In his Mega Y form, every single attack completely overbears both Anj flowers. If I didn't know any better, I would have guessed that these things were weak to fire type attacks. We did have to switch occasionally in order to dodge the Lights of Ruin, but ultimately, Jeffrey shredded the towering enemy in front of us, defeating Anj Floette, solidifying our place as the strongest, and winning us the entire game. As always, thank you all so much for watching. These gift-only runs have kind of become a yearly event at this point, and it's so much fun every single time. I'm so thankful to all of you for supporting me for these past few years, and hopefully I'll still be at it for years to come. But I've got more videos to make, so that's all I've got today. If you liked today's video, then I've got plenty more like it on the channel, so please feel free to check them out. Thank you all again so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and have a good one.